Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. A quick info before we begin. Today's video has two stories and both of them have updates. Now let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user ScamMe12. One of my 32 male oldest friends, 33 male, just scammed me. I don't know how to handle this and our mutual friends don't believe me. I've known Jay for 17 years. He was part of my wedding party. He helped me through the aftermath of my girlfriend dying in an accident. He's one of those people I would have bet would take a bullet for me. Well, he also stole 1,500 pounds from me. I'm living a pretty middle-class life and I can take the financial hit, even though it's a tidy sum, but it's really the principle of the matter. It's such a massive breach of trust that I'm having trouble understanding it, let alone forgiving it. Here's how it happened. I build and collect model airplanes and trains, specifically planes used in World War II and 19th century trains. It's a weird hobby, but my wife understands it and that's the only opinion I care about. If a rare but affordable piece ever comes up, I buy it. Jay knows about the hobby and even though he takes the mickey for it, he's never cruel about it. He told me that a senior management fella from his company had a model of a private train of an Indian Maharaja. He showed me pictures he said he had taken and told me that the fella would sell it to me for 1,500 pounds, but only cash due to some tax business. Now, if this were a deal with someone over the internet, that stipulation would be a red flag. But this was Jay. He always buys my parents' birthday gifts. I trusted him. So after talking to my wife, I withdrew 1,500 pounds and gave it to Jay. He promised me that I would have the piece in my possession within 3 days. So 3 days later, I texted him asking him for an update. He texted me back, "What are you talking about?" And then straight away called me to apologize for the delay and promised me that he'd have it in another 5 days. Over the next 5 days, I would text him daily asking for an update and he would always call me back to give me an update. My wife, bless her good sense, was extremely suspicious of this, so she told me to record our next conversation. I don't know if it was a coincidence or if Jay has some sort of a sixth sense. He starts pretending not to know what I was talking about. My brain started screaming, "He's scamming you," but I simply couldn't believe it. That conversation ended with me screaming at him. My wife has never trusted him. They had their own history, but even she doesn't think I can do much about it due to the lack of proof. Our text logs just show me badgering him about a model train and him not replying. I told our common friends about his issue, but he had already told them his version of the story. He played it like he was concerned about me as I was asking him about a model train he had no idea about. Some of them honestly believe I'm having a mental breakdown of some sort. If it weren't for my wife, I would be thinking the same. What the F do I do? I can't approach the police on this matter if I can't even convince my friend. What do I tell Jay? He's been pretending like we're still the same friends on group chats. He comes from a well-to-do family. He's very well paid at his job. There should be no reason for him to need 1,500 pounds so badly that he would be willing to scam me. Oh man, OP, this situation is horrible. First of all, because yeah, your friend scammed you and lied to you and now he's playing you off as some sort of crazy person. But to the question of what his reason could be, I see like two options. One, he became an addict, so he needs the money to supply for his addiction. And usually scamming the people that's close to you would be the first thing, if not stealing their furniture and pawning it off. Or two, he's in a bad situation with worse people and he owes them a lot of money. Now, the reason I believe these are two options is because he would scam you, basically a brother. You've known him for 15 years. He was part of your wedding party, as you say, your best friend, and he scammed you. Which to me means you're an easy mark because you trust him and he's really desperate. Of course, what he did absolutely sucks and you should not forgive him for it at all. You should keep pressuring him and if you can apply law, then go ahead and do it. But honestly, OP, I don't think it's gonna be too long before he tries to scam somebody else. It's in the playbook because it's never enough money and he's gonna need more. So I would just worry on chasing Jay legally, but regarding your friends, believe me, one of them is gonna be the next one to get scammed and then they'll believe you. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? How would you go about it or try to solve it yourself? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Deleted says, I think that money is gone for good, and so is your friendship. Sorry mate, it's a bitter pill to swallow. Interesting that your wife doesn't trust him though, and hasn't for some time. How long has he been a source of aggro for her? I'd say whatever the backstory is, she's had the right idea for a while. I wonder what she saw that you and the rest of your mates didn't. Do you think maybe there might have been a few warning flags thrown up earlier, but you and the guys gave him a free pass he didn't deserve for the sake of a decades-long friendship? And Opie responds, he was the one who introduced me to her. He had tried to court her before me, and when she rejected him, he acted like a bit of a prat. That's the reason she doesn't trust him. She doesn't hate him or really disliked him. She used to think that he was just a bit of a bastard. Now she thinks he's a proper a-hole, and I find myself agreeing with her. Brave Pig says, next time I'm trying to buy not drugs from a friend and they behave like this, I will be on the lookout. Sorry this happened to you, man, but I'm learning from you. Don't give up on your friends, maintain your version of events and move on with your life, continuing to not have a mental breakdown. Something horrible has gotten a hold of your friend Jay, and the truth will come to light. He will break down or your friends will eventually be scammed too. I think other people's advice to confront Jay one last time is probably good, on the off chance he fezzes up, but I wouldn't expect anything from it. When you see him, treat him like you would any untrustworthy acquaintance. Brush him off and talk to your other friends. Presbo123 says, it's always fun finding out one of your friends is a sociopath. I've had this happen. I've seen this happen to others. Often, it's a person you've known for years, so it's really confusing and catches you off your feet. The thing is, they can act like a normal human being and simply choose not to when the time is right and they benefit. Probably what happened to your wife, and now the same thing is happening to you, and getting riled up about it is playing right into his hands, so unless you can figure out how to get proof, suck it up, be polite, and steer clear. And Jacob Trades says, Jay, I'm not gonna say your friend, might literally be a psychopath. It sounds like he has an easy time lying and staying on people's good side. He teases you about your hobby. You say he's not cruel about it, but either way, he's judging you. And out of the blue, he scams you after all you've been through together for £1,500. Women are supposedly better at reading people's emotions, so the fact your wife doesn't like him could also be a red flag. This is the kind of guy who'll throw you under the bus to save himself without a second thought. Run! Additional information from Opie's comments. He's been a fantastically good friend to me for a really long time. It's the main reason why this is so heartbreaking. If I could get him talking properly, we might reach some form of a resolution, but Jay doesn't care. I messaged him that I was surprised and annoyed with what he's done, but he never replied. Unfortunately, I have no evidence other than my word. The only discussions we had about this matter and when he showed me the pictures of the train were in person or while actually speaking on the phone, not recorded. And the bank statements just show a withdrawal of £1,500 by me, nothing else. Now, the reason my friends have so easily believed Jay and that I may be having a mental breakdown is that I had a bit of a breakdown after the death of my girlfriend at the time, but that was 12 years ago. I went through counseling for it, and it's the time when Jay was there for me 100%. Also, I have never had an issue since then. My wife has backed me up to my friends. They think she's just backing me up because that's what she's supposed to do as my wife, but still, I'll talk to a lawyer about this. Alright, well, the community covered every possible angle, and actually angles that I didn't consider, of course, like being a sociopath or a psychopath. That just blew past me. But they're both absolutely valid points. And in Opie's context, we learned a little bit more about his past and why his friends don't believe him, but that he is going to go talk to a lawyer. So let's move on to the update to see how this story ends, but of course before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on with that update. I was still logged into this account on my old laptop and I thought you folks deserved an update to this post. Congratulations to the commenters that suggested Jay had a gambling debt, so he decided to scam the people closest to him to get out of it. To go about the whole drama chronologically, after reading the posts and talking to my wife about it, I finally decided to take some actual action rather than just moping about. I first tried to talk to Jay about the whole thing, but he completely avoided me. Since I didn't see any actual resolution happening anytime soon, I went to a solicitor friend of mine and told her about the issue. She did some research and then drew up a claim and sent it to his house, which was subsequently found by his wife, and that's when the whole thing blew up. Before, when I had approached Jay's wife, Rachel, she was sympathetic to my concerns but still believed her husband. Now, Rachel is a very close friend of my wife, and this obviously led to a lot of tension. But the legal notice sort of put things over the top and made her take my word a lot more seriously, so she snooped. Basically, she found that Jay had been having a lot of trouble with gambling. Now, I always knew that he was a punter, but all I knew was that he would put up like 10 quid on the rugby once in a while and nothing too serious. Well, it seems like he got really serious. He had been turning to his co-worker for cash to put his bets in. He didn't want his wife to find out since they shared finances. He got in way over his head and was in a £5,000 hole. The co-worker started getting antsy and asked for some of the money back, so Jay decided to scam me for the cash. He didn't come out and tell me the truth because he knew I would talk to his wife and his parents. In his mind, he didn't think it was that big of a deal and he would pay me back and all would be hunky-dory again. Rachel paid me back and she also moved in with us for a couple of weeks until Jay got his head straight and went into treatment for his gambling addiction. His mom moved in with them and Rachel's been keeping a close eye on him and making sure he's going to his counseling and meetings. She also has him on a tight financial leash. I think the co-worker has been paid back in full. As for me and Jay, it's still a little complicated. Jay's been my best mate for most of my life. As I said in my original post, when I was 20, my then girlfriend died while coming over to my place and the guilt and grief drove me crazy. Jay moved me into his place and made sure I ate, slept and showered. He even did my laundry for me. He also sacrificed his own social life just to make sure I wasn't going to sit on the train tracks. He's been like my brother and that's why his conman antics hurt me so much. After talking to my wife, Rachel, as well as mine and his parents, I knew I was going to forgive him. I've been supporting him and making sure he's following his therapy and meetings, and even though there's some residual annoyance and my trust is still iffy, he's still my mate. Thanks for reading and for all your opinions. Cheers! Well, OP, I can't call it a happy update, but I do believe it is a positive one. For starters, the truth came out and you're no longer considered a crazy person, and Jay is doing the meetings and the therapy he needs to get over his addiction, or at least work through it. And regarding your friendship, I think you are making the right choice, just as long as you don't lend him any money anymore or anything like that, not until the trust has been properly gained, and that could take years. So on that note, I'm gonna wish you and your wife and Jay, of course, the best in the future. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. And now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning of the video, also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user FishyFishy. My 28 female boyfriend 32 male promised me a fish tank for my birthday. He got me sea monkeys. My boyfriend doesn't appreciate my hobby, fish. I work with fish at my job. I care for them and manage the ordering and maintenance, etc. My entire job revolves around fish. He doesn't get it. He calls them decorations, not real pets, etc. So I don't have a fish tank in the house, but I care for multiple clients' tanks outside of work as a side business. Before I moved in with them, I bred exotic fish and various invertebrates and sold them online. When we moved in together, I went down to one tank, an amphibian I wasn't willing to part with, which I lost 2 months before my birthday. It's a lot of work to maintain as much as I used to have, and I was okay with dropping that part of my hobby since I was already dealing with fish at my day job. The thing is, He promised that for my birthday, I would have a tank. I didn't expect anything huge, but like a 20-gallon with fancy shrimp and tetras, I certainly wasn't expecting a huge setup. We have a small apartment. I'd already planned out ways to rearrange my furniture to house something. I sold some of my books online and my desk area is cramped because I planned to have a pretty fish tank right next to my computer. Gaming is another hobby, so it seemed perfect. Then, for my birthday, he handed me a sea monkey kit. He was so proud he had found a compromise between what I wanted and what he wanted. For your birthday? I'm really hurt. I'm considering breaking up with him over this. I literally thought it was a joke. When he said I could have a fish tank, I sent him links to used tanks online. And there was recently a sale at our local fish store for $1 per gallon on tanks. He seemed receptive. I'd even have been happy with a tiny 10-gallon, but he got me sea monkeys. Literally, what people usually feed their fish. It's a tiny tank like 5 inches tall. It costs $7.99 at the shop near me. He completely missed the point. I don't know, he never gave me a size, but he specifically said he was getting me a tank. He got me sea monkeys, brined shrimp, literally set it up and ignored it. I grew up with sea monkeys. We ignored them for months and they did better than when we remembered to feed them. Oh man, OP, yeah, that's very selfish of your boyfriend. He absolutely disregarded what you wanted and just kinda got out of a bind by getting you sea monkeys. I honestly don't understand his reasoning. I mean, he promised you a tank. Granted, he gave you one, but I don't think that counts as a tank. That's more like a Tupperware without the lid. Anyways, he says he found a compromise between what you want and what he wants. I don't know if he wanted to give you something that you didn't want, because that wouldn't make any sense for a birthday gift. So the only other explanation to me is that he just didn't care. He made a promise, didn't care to follow through on it, and now you're disappointed. And in my opinion, that is a very valid reason to rethink a relationship. And I'm not talking about a gift or money or anything like that. I'm talking about disregard and disrespect. And what do you guys think about this whole thing? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Tzwizzle077 says, I'd be pretty hurt over this as well. I'm not one to expect super extravagant gifts from people, but I also want the joy to be considered. I really like succulents and would love them as gifts, but if my boyfriend got me a fake succulent, I might kill him. I think you should bring it up to him that it hurt you. See what he says. It might go better than you expect. And OP responds, if he'd said no, we don't have room, I'd have respected that. I feel like he led me on? Dakota and Numbers says, leave his ass if you can. That's just purely disrespectful to you and your interests or hobbies. He doesn't have to love fish, but he should love you enough to want you to be happy. By the way, screw all the haters on this post. They're just as arrogant as your significant other. And Deleted says, yeah, you're also 28. Grow up. Additional information from OP's comments. He knows I'm mad, but we haven't discussed it yet. I'm at work right now and I'll bring it up when I get home. I'm still a little in shock. He got me sea monkeys, like not even one of the fancy ones, a basic $8 kit. I bought him a Nintendo Switch and 3 games for his birthday, then took him out to dinner. I'm pretty sure this conversation is going to end with me moving out. I'm setting up a massive 90-gallon discus tank. Alright, so apparently OP got supporters and detractors and they all had something to say, and OP also gave us a lot more context about the balance in their relationship in her comment. So now let's move on to the update to see how the story ends. I legitimately thought it was a joke, a bad one, but I seriously thought he couldn't be that effing dense. Well, I talked to him. He didn't want to get me a tank because it would cost more money than the sea monkeys and he'd spent all his cash on weed. He didn't want to charge something full price from the store to his card and didn't have cash for a used tank from Craigslist. This was the last straw, I guess. He doesn't respect my hobby. He's been late with his half of the rent more than once. He smokes weed every single day, so do I to be fair, but he frequently smokes enough that I have to make dinner because he is too stoned to leave the couch. He thought I'd buy that it was a compromise apparently. I'm already moved back in with my mother. I literally linked him nice used tanks for $50. He didn't have a spare 50 to get me something nice because he effing bought weed instead. Ugh, I'm so mad. I paid for his last car repair and he couldn't get me anything for my birthday. He spent over $200 to buy weed in bulk to save money instead of getting me anything. To top it off, his boss just texted me to apologize if their relationship is what broke us up. And she's so sorry, but it just happened and they love each other and she's sorry I got hurt while they figured that out. I got him that job. I begged my district manager for a position for him, meaning we work at the same company. I just emailed HR that due to the circumstances, I'm no longer comfortable going to their location. Kept it professional. The real issue they'll take is that she's his boss. That's a big no-no. Anyway, I don't need this drama. Thank effing God I already left and brought all my stuff with me. I also bought myself a 46-gallon bow front that I'm going to fill with all sorts of cool fish and he can go suck a penis. I'm done. But I did save the sea monkeys he gave me. They'll be the perfect food for my new fish. Laughing out loud face. Oh wow, that just went wild. This guy is a huge douchebag. It's a good thing you dropped him, OP. So enjoy your fish and feed them well. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.